have any questions about your curiosity about Taiwan, feel free to ask me anytime and just raise your hand on your screen. All right, so today we're going to talk a little bit about the economics in about Taiwan's night markets, and mainly I'm going to share the food in Taiwan, about the history and the culture influence. All right, so I'm going to share my desktop with you in the Jiffy. All right, so while I'm still getting ready, so can you all tell me where you're coming from? No one. Apparently it's quite quiet.
Hi, Miss. I'm from Indonesia.
Oh, from Indonesia.
Yes.
And anyone else?
Taiwan.
Oh, from Taiwan. Are you
对，
from the Department of Finance?
no.
Okay. Well, that's
Yeah.
quite rare to find Taiwanese in the class.
I'm from Indonesia.
Oh, so a lot of you are all from Indonesia, South Korea. Wow. Ooh, there are a lot of Indonesian here in the classroom today in Singapore. You're welcome. So, thank you. Okay. Can you all see my desktop?
Yes, Prof.
All right, so this is very easy, very simple
Yes.
PowerPoint, so nothing to worry about, and no assignment, no scores, so just relax and be happy. All right, so today we're talking about Taiwan night markets, food and history, and slightly about the economics. And so the greetings related to food. Well, the reason why I have to bring it up, because food actually plays very important role in Chinese culture. And of course, because Taiwan has a lot, also the Chinese background, so that's why we are also very influenced by this, by food culture. So we're going to learn how to greet each other in very different way, because internationally, normally you would just say hi, hello, ni hao, maybe in Chinese to people you think they understand. But in Taiwan, there's also different ways to greet. I think if you're a like Singaporean, maybe you'll understand some of this, because like maybe in China or maybe in Singapore, sometimes people greet each other this way as well. Okay, so the first one, this is in Chinese like Mandarin. So when we ask someone the question, like when we meet each other, we greet each other, except in late night. Okay, then you can say 加爸爸. Okay, 加爸爸. Or, oh, sorry, that's Taiwanese, sorry. It's called 吃饱没,吃饱没. Or you can say 吃饱了吗? All right. So what does that mean? It means, have you eaten yet? Are you full yet? And how do you answer that? 吃饱了. I have been eaten. Okay, so next time when you're in Chinese neighborhood and countries where people speak Chinese, the area people speak Chinese, that this is how you can also try to practice in real. Okay, so 吃 means eat, right? 饱 means full. Okay, so that's about food. But for Taiwanese, that is also the same thing. It's just a little bit different. Okay, so question you would say 吃饱未? 吃饱未? It's the same thing. Hold on. Okay, so 吃饱未? Or you say like 吃 is eat, to eat. 饱 feel full. 未 is like a question mark. Have you eaten yet? It's exactly the same thing. And then you can answer 吃饱, 吃饱. I have been eaten. All right, so I hope this doesn't sound quite difficult. Okay. One second. All right. Guess this way I can. Okay, so what's your impression? Oops. What's the impression of Taiwan night market? Well, for as a foreigners or locals, that's could be completely different. So how many of you ever been to Taiwan before? Anyone who would like to share your impression about Taiwan night market? If you've been here, you've never been here, it's all fine. Anyone would like to share? All right. Oops. Oops. Okay. Oops. My bad. It's okay. Okay, I'll start from. Okay, Andrew, can you share your opinion? That's weird. Taiwanese street food. You've never been to Taiwan? Okay. Cube beef, bubble tea, gong cha. Right. Okay. Yes. Okay, so if you haven't been to Taiwan yet, have you ever heard of anything from your friend or like the video that you've seen and whatever you've heard and what is the image for you in your mind? Taiwan fashion, that's very good. Okay, for this today, right now, this class is not the FT class. Okay, it's a FT class program, but today we're talking about night markets. Oops. Sorry, I'm pretty not quite. Sorry, my bad. Just weird. All right. Okay, if you raise your hand and please share, because I don't know why I just couldn't click and just point to a certain person. Stinky tofu, boba. All right, Taiwan Mei. Taiwan, Taiwan Mei is not a food. All right. Andrew, that's really cute. Okay. So, all right, this is a little bit frustrating. I just couldn't. Right, if you raise your hand and you can, like, Japan, well, you can answer. Or just turn on your mic then.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, so I went to Taiwan about a few years ago. That was during the December period where the weather was a bit cold. Yeah.
Right.
So everybody wrapped up in a different kind of outfit. And I think that's pretty cool because in Singapore it's summer all year long. And
Right.
yeah, everybody just dressed in shorts and t-shirt. But then once I get to Taiwan, like everybody wear different kind of outfits. But some of the girls still dress quite sexily.
Yeah, I can imagine that kind of feeling because I've been to Singapore for only 2 times, but it's always summer. But the advantage there is like you can always pack very little to go. That is quite different here, isn't it?
Yeah, and the food there, there's really a lot of variety.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So, how do you enjoy the food in the night market?
Mm. Yes, indeed, I enjoyed it a lot.
Oh,
Yeah.
lovely. Which one is your favorite?
The XXL 大鸡扒.
Okay. I think. Oh, I unfortunately I removed that picture from my PowerPoint. Otherwise, you get to see like really big chicken steak that actually the size of it is way actually bigger than the face, right?
Yeah, yeah,
All right. Well, thanks for sharing.
no problem.
Okay, so next one we've invited Sienna. Sienna, sorry.
Hi.
Hello. How are
Hi.
you?
So I've been to Taiwan on holiday, and I also was in exchange in Taiwan for actually a month, but we were called back because of the coronavirus.
Oh, that's too bad. You should have stayed.
Yeah. Yeah, it was Taiwan was amazing. We went to like those small touristy night markets such as Shilin. We
Right,
went to more localized ones because I went to Hsinchu for the exchange.
right.
So went to more like localized night markets where it was much smaller, but definitely um more authentic, I would say, as compared to Shilin.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's because, well, in a smaller town or smaller cities, usually night markets are smaller, but well, authentic. Well, it's let's say because there are also some immigrants and also people who are actually craving for a kind of food rather than the traditional ones. So they will create some more like some things like that. But Shanghai market is partly more considered generally more traditional, not
Yeah.
exactly traditional, but more.
Yeah, like the food were less gimmicky as compared to Shilin night market.
Right, right. Well, thanks, thanks
Thank
for
you.
sharing. All right, so let's continue our PowerPoint and later we'll discuss later. So for locals, what is What's the difference? Well, for us, basically, all right, I'm not gonna say that how old I am, though I don't really mind. But the thing is, when I was a little girl, what I do with my parents is they would take me out to the night market, just enjoy the food as dinner. So for a lot of foreigners, it could be considered as snacks, but actually for us, um, basically, we will not have dinner before going to the night market, besides if you are only going for shopping. And that's say, in the Taiwanese night markets, not every single night market has like shops. Okay, I mean, like for other products rather than food, because a lot of night markets, they are very short, they're small, but they're only provided food. So later on, I'll explain you the reason why. Okay. Okay, so here let's talk about the history. Okay, so, well, the beginning of the Taiwan night market is also get influence from like China a long time ago. Well, in Chinese ancient historical data, it is actually very easy to find the records about vendors selling in the market. And so these business people will go to a certain area and start the business. From time to time, it becomes the market. And after this custom passed to Taiwan, and slowly its form become night market. And the night market function is basically about exchange goods, stimulate consumptions, and to meet demands. All right, so because, well, in early years, economic is not very good everywhere, and also not in Taiwan. So human beings relies on their natural survival instincts. So in order to have the living quality growing better and better, and even though you can think like it also to have a night market is also can be considered as the contribution of the progress of the civilization. I know, probably for the mostly Asian culture, I believe. And so, undeniable for Taiwan's economic development, vendors, they're actually they're a force to be reckoned with, and it is just right they're just right to be in the market and to remedy for imbalance between supply and demands. Okay, let's check out next. Oh, this is too fast. All right, so how's that Taiwan night market is being formed? Actually, I'm going to jump to the. Okay, now I'm going to jump here to the map first, so you know the influence. Okay, this is the Taiwan Island, and here on the east, this is Pacific Ocean, as you can see, and on the another side is, let's say, U.S. and on the north is East China Sea, another side is Japan, and on the west is Taiwan Strait, another side is China. On the south is South China Sea. Oh, sorry, this is not. It's Bashi Channel. It's right here. Sorry, and another side is Philippines. So basically, not saying like every countries around Taiwan will influence Taiwan, but some, of course. All right, so let's check out the history so we have an idea why this country, why those countries. Okay, so let's escape the prehistory first. And well, Taiwan's being ruled by seven different countries before. So Taiwan was named Formosa a long time ago, and we'll talk about this later in the next few times that we meet online. So from, let's say, we have Dutch came to Taiwan between 1624 to 1662, which is Dutch Formosa, and then is Spanish Formosa is pretty much actually the same between this time as well, and pretty much because they were based in the Philippines at the time, but at that moment they were short of money, so they couldn't defeat Dutch, so they had to take off from Taiwan back to Philippines at the time. So that's how that's why it's allowed Dutch to be in Taiwan for so many years. And then here comes Kingdom of Dongning. Well, if you have Chinese background, you might know the person called Zheng Chenggong. In English, we call him as Koxinga. All right, so when he came to Taiwan, well, then that from him until his grandson, and this period of time we called Kingdom of Dongning. And then after that, because Koxinga's grandson lost in a war with Qing Dynasty, which is the last dynasty of Chinese history, and so we became the part of Qing Dynasty at the time. So it's Qing rule between 1683 to 1895. And in 1895, because that Qing Dynasty lost in the war in a war with Japan, so at the time Taiwan was about to be ceded to Japan. Then at the moment, there are some people established Republic of Formosa in Taiwan. Unfortunately, there's something goes wrong, and they all took off from Taiwan, and so it's only lasts for 5 months at the moment in 1895. Then here comes Japan, because Qing Dynasty lost in the First Sino-Japanese War. So we were ceded to Japan for 50 years until 1945. And then after, Republic of China, let's say, because Japanese lost in the World War II, so at the time, the nationalist government from ROC at the time in China and came to receive Taiwan in 1945, and basically the whole government was relocated to Taiwan in 1949. Okay, between 1947 to 1949. The reason why I had to mention this, because it's also plays very important roles about Taiwanese night market food, because some of the food were brought in actually between like Qing rule time, around that time, and then after 1949, that when nationalist government came to Taiwan, they also brought in a lot of soldiers, and because all the soldiers were from different provinces in China, they have a lot of provinces, so they are all coming from different provinces. When they came to Taiwan, when they miss home, they start to make their own cuisine. So from time to time, it becomes a part of our culture as well. Okay, right, let's go back to the history. So in Chinese society's market, and at the very beginning, because of the management, and they started to use this type of they start to actually have the type of markets. It's like like in certain area, or it will be only appear at a certain timing. And from time to time, when the economic needs becomes more than politics, society needs, and the business start to form, like to sell on the both side of the streets. So this kind of business type, after it's been passed to Taiwan, and it becomes more for let's say nighttime consumption, and leisure. So from that time until today is still the same. So night market in Taiwan has the history of over 100 years, and usually is because of the traffic condition. Well, the traffic condition is convenient, okay, located in convenient place, and also it has a big space and with a lot of crowds. So basically, in the early years, the markets are usually will be around the temples or somewhere convenient, because in Taiwan, majority of people are beliefs in Buddhism and Taoism. Of course, we have people like Christian, Catholics, and Muslim, and other religions as well. The majority of people are still Taoism and Buddhism. So there are a lot of temples in Taiwan. So basically, it will happen there because that's where mostly everybody will go. So it becomes a market. So for example, like in Taipei, there's a place called Dadaocheng. And well, at the very beginning, the market is formed because of the food stalls. But even nowadays, if you go there, you can still find it. So when night markets start forming in Taiwan, basically it's all happening every evening. But now it's not quite the same. And well, let's say because some of you been to some night markets like Shiling and in Taichung, where the school is the biggest one, which is also the biggest in Taiwan, called Fengjia Night Market. Like these several night markets are basically located in the same place, opens every day. There's no break. But some, especially in the suburbs, like countryside, usually they will not opening every day, and it's probably once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week, 4 times a week. This really depends on the let's say custom, let's say shopping habits, dining habits. Because in the countryside, most people will cook on their own, and they might head out for some leisure time like shopping, but it's not like everyday thing. And also the population in the countryside is a lot less than in the city, so they will not have a night market which opens every single day. Okay, so right now this kind of night opens a few times a week. It actually happens after like in late 1970s, let's say. So there's one record that's interesting because in 1908 in actually Kaohsiung, Qijin, Fengshan, Qijin. I'm not quite sure if any of you ever been there before. There's a Taoism temple worshipping Mazu. It's really well known in Taiwan, and they have already had a night market at the time in 1908, and the starting time was from 6 p.m. to 12 a.m. So that is really surprisingly interesting because that's a long time ago. It's really hard to imagine at the time people has already have this kind of business idea to open quite late. All right, I know I've been talking continuously for quite some time. So okay, sorry, I'm just reading the information, your message. Well, if you would like to keep my PowerPoint, you can do that. And you mean the material? Like, I don't really have the material, so but let's say I only have this PowerPoint. But if you want to keep it, you can still keep it. But I have to say, I think you can do a screenshot and don't. I can still send it to you. Just simply saying the big part of my PowerPoints are mostly pictures. So, well, if you like that, you can save my email address, or I would just pass it to. Sorry, my bad. Let's say I will try to organize it as soon as possible, and I will try to upload it to the system for you to download. If this sounds okay for you. All right, do I lost you or do I lost myself? Ooh. All right, you're welcome. Okay, let's go back to the PowerPoint again. Sorry, I'm gonna stay in this page for a while before we continue. Okay, so right now, to be in the market and hang out there is already a big part of the Taiwan's culture. Though in Chinese people's food culture has been years really long, and it's also well known, and even in the world, like everywhere in big international cities and famous cities, you can all have Chinese cuisine. But most of the foodies, this is I believe, all right, I cannot represent everyone, but I believe that most of the foodies that actually I met all considered like in Taiwan they can try, they're able to try all kinds of the Chinese food. And for Taiwanese, food to eat is an art and also the culture. So especially the specialty of the Taiwan history's background. So it actually helps our food culture and become really just different. Like it's emerged with the Chinese, Taiwanese, and Europe, even Japanese, Europeans, I have to say, many, like even some, of course, Muslim influence as well. Okay, so besides that, okay, let's say, well, we're not talking about food right away, but we'll keep it for later. So the special part about the Taiwan's night market is the food in the night market is, well, nowadays, personally, I wouldn't say that. I mean, as a local, but a long time ago, the price is actually super cheap and good to eat. And of course, in the recent, I don't know, in the past 10, 20 years, and the price is actually raising higher for the reasons. And also because the Taiwanese average income hadn't been raised for quite some time, just until recent years, and slowly getting slightly higher. So for locals, it's the price compared with before is a lot higher, but maybe for you, for a lot of foreigners, it's still considered as quite cheap. But it also depends on what you're eating, of course. Okay. All right. So, like I said earlier, night market is basically located at a place where the transportation, the traffic is convenient, or the temples, or in the day market area. And usually it's also develops in the earliest area, like earliest developed area and more crowded place. Because let's say, after all, we all rely on food. This is our first thing to be considered. Like earlier, we're learning how to say 吃饱没?吃饱了吗? The way we greet each other. Why we do that? Because in early years, there are not a lot of food, and there are also not a lot of choices. So in order to be able to work, we have to feed our stomach first. So that's why it's important. So actually, the night market is become, it's quite interesting to think this way, actually. because night market is convenient, fast, and cheap, and with a lot of different choices. So it's kind of like we can consider maybe as a part, as like the starting of the beginning of the fast food culture. It's very different. It's not like McDonald's and KFC, that kind of fast food, but something that you don't need to cook and you go and it's ready. Just that simple. All right. Okay, so let's move on to the next. Okay, so Taiwanese night market mainly developed in several different types. One is what we call tourism night market. Okay, for example, one of you mentioned Shilin Night Market, and Shilin Night Market is a total tourism night market. Long time ago, it is not. There will be a lot of locals, and now there are more tourists than locals. But of course, during the COVID-19 time, of course, you hardly see foreigners unless they lived here. So usually this type of tourism night market will be more organized and more in ordered. And so it's mostly related. They will have food or some of their specialty, which is related to their like local character. Okay, so usually tourism night markets is only available in the like big cities. Okay, so another kind is like a shopping mall type. This kind of night market will hide in the shopping malls. Well, let's take Fengjiang Night Market as an example. Fengjiang Night Market is like open area, but there are some specific buildings. When soon you walk inside of buildings, there are a lot of shops. Some of them, they also have a lot of food stores, and some of them, they only sell like clothing, accessories, and other services. All right, so another one is like the ones that usually opens like few days a week. This type of night markets normally available in just a open area somewhere in the city or in the countryside. All right, so during the daytime, the whole week time, most of the time it could be empty or to use as the let's say parking lots. So when the night market is closed by the night, when you go there, it would be like everything moved away. So that is really interesting. Okay, I hope I'm not missing any of your questions. Okay, is the sorry. So the price increasing due to tourist trap? Well, it's not really, not about tourist trap, because the price increase in night market is because of basically the basic ingredients and electricity and everything. So it's nothing to do with the tourist trap, because if we have enough tourist trap and without the other reasons that we have it, well, it's supposed to be probably slightly cheaper, maybe, in my idea. Well, I hope I have answered your question, and I hope this is able to help you to understand. You're welcome. Okay, so let's keep going on. Okay, so what can you find in the night market? Actually, some of you have been there, so you know, but there are so many night markets in Taiwan. All right, let's jump back to PowerPoint and let me show you. All right, numbers of Taiwan night markets, and it's gonna surprise you because till this couple of years ago, this is the resource that I got. The total number is 458 night markets, and some of them they Okay, they're mostly in big cities, and some of them they are in the countryside. Well, and also we have like this vegetarian. We only have one vegetarian night market. Let's say in the majority of night markets, you can find vegetarian food, but probably not a lot of choices. Right? Because in Taiwan, people are keen to have pork products and also especially like seafood products, and that is all very commonly seen, or chicken, something like that. Vegetarian is not quite, not super, not difficult, but not a lot, right? So that's why we only have one vegetarian. But this vegetarian night market is very special because it will move from cities to cities. So basically, if you would like to know, and of course later I'll also send you the information, then you can go and track their Facebook, and they will tell you which day, which cities they're going to, and if you like to experience something all vegetarian, that's the place you can go. And in Taiwan, we don't have, well, compared with the numbers of vegetarian food restaurants we have in Taiwan, the population as a vegetarian is not as high, but because we already have a lot of vegetarian food restaurant, I guess that's also the reason why that people are not really care that much about that. Besides, towards the vegetarian people, we are very sorry about that. All right, that's okay. So what we can find there in the night market besides food, okay, so you can find like clothes and accessories and also some tools, and I mean everything is possible in the night market. So you can pretty much find like consumer electronics, supplements, I wouldn't say groceries, but some groceries and some little things to, like little small products, which is like it's hardly to sing in department store, and like creative products. Also some games, you can play games. For example, we have like, let's say some type of mahjong game. It's not really like a traditional mahjong, but some type. I personally don't really know how to play that. And play marbles is very traditional. Let's say, sorry, let me show you the picture of it. Okay, so okay, so this one is kind of traditional. Oops, it's actually a little bit small, but you can see that you basically use the stick and to move the marbles to get into this long straight area. So it depends. They can set up the rules. So it depends on how many marbles in the same row, and if your marbles goes to the same row as many as possible and reach a certain amount, then you can get a toy or something as a reward. Okay, so they also can play dart and well, fishing, shrimping. I know small, there's a miniature shrimping and miniature fishing, and gun shooting, like BB guns, that kind of shooting, and play bingo games, and even some machines that you can get the some toys. So a lot of things that you can do actually. But like I said, some smaller night markets only provide food. So make sure when you come to Taiwan, where you want to go, and make a plan before you go. Otherwise, or ask your friend, or you can feel free to ask me, and you will not go to the wrong place. For example, like around our school, like Asia University, we also have one night market which is only available on every Tuesday, but it is only a small little night market for food. So if you want to try something without going to Taichung City Center, and that is going to be a very easy place for you to get from a dormitory rather to the Wufeng City Center. Okay, so let's go back to the economic. So in Taiwan, long time ago, especially in 1960s, the making, like producing industries actually start to growing quite fast. And at the time, Taiwan is more like a labor-intensive industry. So a lot of people will start their own business. And especially in 1973, okay, I'm almost about to ask, like, do you remember actually? No, well, I wasn't even born yet. In 1973, there's oil crisis. You might heard of that from the lesson books or from the news long time ago. And a lot of orders were returned to Taiwan, unfortunately. So there are a lot of people might lose the job or lose the business because of the oil crisis. And actually that makes the night markets also become the place where they're selling all these products, because these orders got returned. So they have no other channels to sell. So it goes to the night market. So nowadays, of course, it's not different. It's not the same, sorry. The oil crisis happened long time ago. But now, today, night market's still the some product selling channels. Let's say, all these products are not just the reason why it could be cheap. There for several reasons. If they're out of fashion, or they're no longer popular, or their style is just too old.
Hello. Hello.
Yes.
Mr. So your PPT so not move on the next. So you can check that. Okay.
No, I'm not going to the numbers yet.
Okay. You also stop the history, right?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. So because a student is kind of differentiation about your PPT, the shifting. So I help them to let you know.
No problem.
Okay. Sorry.
It just hasn't get there yet. All right. Sorry about that. Yeah. The next PowerPoint, next page is about the numbers. So we're not talking about that yet. Anyways, so this night markets where they are selling like low price products, and I have to say, maybe few of them are defective products, so they can sell them extra cheaper, not super cheap, but extra cheaper. But anyways, this is the place where people can actually sell this kind of products, and just especially, I mean, during the when the economic is really bad, and when you go to the night market, you can see it's so obvious, okay? Because a lot of business was run out, and that's why they couldn't find the right place. And even though the COVID-19, because of COVID-19, we have to say that in Taiwan, though we are really safe, we're able to travel in like Taiwan region, and still there are a lot of businesses are really having a hard time. That's for example, as myself, like I'm a English tour guide, so I haven't been working for a long time. I mean, for my industry, but some occupation as well to survive. All right, so Okay, so well, because the PowerPoint's been sitting there for a long time, it's get a little bit boring. So let's move on to the numbers. All right, so the latest resource I've got is in 2018 August. So this is the government report. All right, after we finish this one, we're going to take a short break. All right. So the total numbers of stores is about, well, 307,000. And the ones that which sell snacks, food, and beverage stores are like about 53.4%, which is like huge part. Like I said, food plays very important role. And fresh food stores, let's say 71,000 is not, ooh, this is, sorry, my bad. This is definitely not right. I cannot correct it right now. Not 16.4. All right, sorry. Okay, clothes and shoes of those stores like 31,000. So actually, the numbers of stores decreased like 12,000 due to multiple retail channel compared with 2019. Oh, sorry, 2013. Well, it's decreasing. It's what we call what is that about the retail channel? Let's say because back in 2013, there's already online shopping, but right now, it's especially after 2013. Well, online shopping is becoming more and more popular, especially after the COVID-19 pandemic. So people are willing to shop online. So to shop online, you can, for example, like if you go to shop online, you will not just go to a single website, or maybe few of you would do that, but most of people will go comparing this website to that website in order to discover like cheaper price products, but actually same quality. So also there are people don't really trust internet and don't feel like to shop online, so they will go for the shops, like regular shops, which has the higher quality. They think is higher quality, and it's more real. The shops are more reliable because they can probably go back there for an exchange, and even though they have to pay a little bit more. So so that's why we said like due to multiple retail channel compared with 2013. Okay, so the average annual income is about like 1.758 million. So that's a huge number, and it's still even increased compared with 2013 because some people, well, it's, let's say, majority of the reason why people go to night markets for food. So people, especially younger generations, if possible, they would like to just dine out without cooking on their own. So they spend more time in the night market, and whatever they use, they will. I'm not saying prefer, but possibly prefer to spend more in night market, because like I said, in night market you can find some really decent products. I'm not saying like everything is perfect, because after all, that's night market, but they have a lot of really decent products as well. Okay, so the average profit is about 575,000. Is a lot though, increasing also compared with the 2013. It's increased like 4.17%. So it's actually a very huge number. Okay. Are you tired yet? Okay, so now it's about like 3 p.m. So we're going to take a 10 minutes break, and after 10 minutes, we'll coming back to the meetings. So let's say okay, 3:05. And if you, I will be here still. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me right now.
Sorry, Prof, can I ask you something about the night market?
Of course.
Um,
Please go ahead.
I'm really wondering about how the night markets were when it is pandemic. Is there any any special effort taken by government to keep the night markets survived? Because we know when it was the coronavirus, I guess it is still the coronavirus pandemic, we have physical restrictions and everything else. And how the night markets keep going, Prof?
Um, Actually, in Taiwan, that if your income is lower than certain amount, well, well, because for different industry is slightly different. So then you can apply for the support from the government. For night markets, the exact numbers of for night markets, I'm not quite sure about that. But for me, for example, like I'm totally like my last assignment was in the early February, and until today I haven't been on any trip first yet. So basically, we will have a skill training for a certain amount of time. Then they will provide you the hours pay to be there and learn more skills. And also at the same time, they have like a certain amount of money within like let's say around like 30,000 NT dollars for this first few months. Though that is not a lot, but still quite it's able to, for most of people to survive. And also for some business, let's say business owner, they will, if they don't fire their employees, and they could have been getting like a lower rate of the loans or other supports from government as well. But night markets, because they don't, well, do they pay tax? Yes, they do pay tax if they earn a lot of money, which we'll talk about that later. And if they don't earn that much money, they don't need to pay tax. But so they also need to, they can actually fill up the form and send it out to the government, and then they will go through the details and think if you're qualified enough because of your income dropped dramatically because of the pandemic, then they will give them a certain amount of money. I wouldn't say that I'm quite sure how much they could get from the government support, but this is basically how it works.
All right. Thank you, Prof.
You're welcome.